Welcome to my free writing course. My name's Mahsuda Snaith. Today I've got 3 tips for new writers. Now by new writers, I don't necessarily mean young writers. You could come to writing a lot later in life. You could come to it really, really early in life. Wherever you may be in your life, hopefully these tips will help you on the new adventure in front of you. So my tip number 1 is to list 3 reasons why you want to be a writer. Now, depending on your different reasons for wanting to be a writer, you'll have different motivations. For example, if you just love writing, you're going to be driven by something very different from if you want to make a lot of money from writing. You might just have a story in you that you really just want to get out and show the world. Whatever your motivation, knowing why you want to be a writer will really help you through the dark times of writing where you're really struggling to get through a piece or you're getting a lot of rejections, and I've got a whole video about writing rejection if you do come across that terrible thing. So I decided to do this exercise as well, and I wrote 3 reasons of why I want to be a writer. And my first reason really is that it's the thing I'm best at. Like many people, I've had a number of different jobs, I've tried my hand at different crafts and different skills, but the thing I always get drawn back to is writing, and it is definitely the thing I'm most passionate about. And also I just really love writing. It's one of the few activities where I can fully immerse myself in it, fully escape from the world, go with the flow and see what happens. And when I really thought about why I wanted to be a writer, it's also because I love connecting with people, and not just readers, but connecting with the characters in my book. Even though they're fictionalized, they feel real to me. By connecting with people, I feel I learn something about humanity, and that is something that's very important to me. And so whatever your reasons are for wanting to be a writer, just keep them in mind as you go through this massive journey, because you will have detours, you will get sidetracked, and just knowing why you're doing this thing will help you get through. My number 2 tip is don't follow a story because you think you should. Often as a new writer, it can be really bewildering deciding what story idea to go with. If you're writing a novel or short story, you want it to be successful. You want people to like it. So sometimes writers will go for a story they feel they should be writing, or a story that's really popular at that time. So when Harry Potter came out, lots of people decided to write about wizards. When Twilight came out, lots of people decided to write about vampire romances. The problem with writing about something that is in trend now is that by the time you've written a novel, the trend will have passed. And also by the time you've written that novel, the market will be saturated with those stories. So what I would advise is that you find a story that you're interested in and you are willing to stick with for a year or 2 years, or however long it's going to take to write your story. Hopefully by the time that you finish that project and you're sending it out to people, you will make the new trend. And that doesn't mean don't look at what's on the market and what's popular, because that information is really important too. But whenever you hear that voice that says, should I be doing this? Throw it away, because there are no shoulds. In fact, in life, let alone writing. As I always say at the end of these videos, find the path that works for you. My number 3 tip is to get through at least 1 draft. The thing that nobody really tells you about writing is that it's hard work. It doesn't feel like it should be hard work because it's creative. Hopefully it's also something that you love doing. But that doesn't stop the fact that you will hit roadblocks and it will be difficult. And when you hit those roadblocks, it's really tempting to get distracted by another idea or to give up on a project completely. And there's a quote from Neil Gaiman that I particularly like to use in class about finishing things. Whatever it takes to finish things, finish. You will learn more from a glorious failure than you will ever learn from something you never finish. And I know that definitely applies to me and my story of getting published. When I was younger, I would start a lot of projects and I would kind of get halfway through, get distracted by another project, then start something else. But when I was 16, I decided I would write a whole novel. So I made my way through an entire story, 1 whole draft. I learned so much from writing that whole draft and just making it through from the beginning to the end. A lot of those things were the things that I shouldn't be doing in writing, adding in lots of characters, putting in lots of subplots that didn't really lead anywhere. But I got to the end. The problem I had with that novel is that I didn't revisit it until about 15 years later. But I kind of needed that incubation time to also learn lots of skills from other novels that I'd tried to write and hadn't quite worked. So even if you manage to get through a whole draft of a novel and then decide that it's not what you wanted to write at all, you still will have learned so much from it. So just try and get 1 draft draft written. There's also a great little YouTube clip that I have used in the past to help motivate me through difficult periods of writing. It's from Ira Glass and it's about the creative process. I highly recommend you have a look at that whenever you're really struggling with an idea. Hopefully it will motivate you in the same way it's motivated me. So those are my 3 basic tips for new writers, but I've also got a couple of next steps for you. Once you've managed to finish that first draft, first of all, congratulate yourself because that's amazing. But also see if you can find somebody who can give you feedback on that draft. Somebody you preferably trust and you respect the opinion of. Also, throughout this whole process, keep on learning about the craft. That might be reading the stories that you really love, looking at craft books about writing, going on YouTube and looking at Q&As from writers. All of this stuff is really important writing craft development. As a writer, you will always be learning. I am still learning about writing. I'm sure people with 30, 40 years behind them of writing experience are still learning about writing. Just keep sticking with your reasons for wanting to be a writer and be a writer. This was part of my free writing course. If you'd like to see more of these, you can subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to support me, you can buy me a coffee on the Ko-fi link below. Thank you for joining me. And remember, every writing journey is different, so find the path that works for you.